Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rookie Reporters YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be recapping everything that happened at the 2026 Japanese Grand Prix. We returned to Suzuka in Japan for another year and let me tell you, it delivered. We had amazing starts, a safety car that some people would argue was at the perfect time, and a teenage sensation that took control of the whole weekend. So let's break down everything that happened. Coming into the weekend, one of the first big news stories we had was that Fernando Alonso was going to be missing media day. This was due to the birth of his first child and him becoming a dad, so he wouldn't have been in Japan until later on, but congratulations to him. This meant that we had Aston Martin's reserve driver Jack Crawford make his debut in a Formula One car by participating in his first ever FP1 session. He's also the first rookie to take part in an FP1 session this season. One of the biggest stories from that week is that Jonathan Wheatley would be stepping down from the role as team principal at Audi. This role now goes to the Italian man and former Ferrari boss Mattia Binotto, who is already the head of the Audi project. During the week off from the previous race in China, Max Verstappen had competed in the Nürburgring Langstrecke Series Round 2. He managed to claim pole position and win the race by a near 1 minute margin. However, following the race in a post-race technical inspection, it was found that his team used 7 sets of tyres instead of 6 over the 4-hour period. Suzuka is known for its special themed liveries and this year was no different. We had 3 teams change their liveries this year and that was VCARB, Haas and Mercedes. The first car that was unveiled was the VCARB livery and it was a fan favourite. The car was inspired by cherry blossoms, which Japan is most commonly known for, and it involves traditional paintbrush strokes to symbolise the country. It also launches the new Spring Edition Red Bull, which is a cherry sakura flavour, so it makes sense to launch it in Japan. Another livery that caught people's eye was the Mercedes livery as they put a wolf on their front wing. No, it wasn't for the team principal, Toto Wolff. It was designed for the team's partnership with brand Yohji Yamamoto Y3 and they did an Unleash the Beast theme. Haas decided to change their livery as well and they went with a Godzilla theme. The livery launched their partnership with Toho Co Limited and they stuck with their original red, white and black colour scheme, just incorporating the King of Monsters onto the design. Now, moving on to the track action, during FP1 we saw Mercedes domination again with George Russell setting a time of a 1 minute 31.666. And like I said earlier on, we saw the first rookie of the season, apart from Arvid Lindblad, take the FP1 session, which was Aston Martin's third driver, Jack Crawford. We saw George Russell run off the track a few times with the VCARB drivers catching themselves at the same corner, which was turn 14, the spoon corner. Alex Albon also had a moment at Degner 2 when he hit the wall after experiencing some understeer and running off into the gravel. He had more bad luck throughout the session as he collided with Cadillac driver Sergio Perez at the last chicane. There was also an amazing moment at the end of the session between Leclerc, Gasly and Piastri as they all went into turn 1, with Gasly overtaking Piastri and then Leclerc overtaking them both from behind. Moving on to the second practice session, we saw Oscar Piastri take first place with a 1 minute 30.133. Pierre Gasly also had a moment in the pit lane after nearly colliding with one of the Williams, which pulled out in front of him. The Ferrari seemed quite snappy as Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton both struggled with the mix of oversteer and understeer throughout sections of the track, and Fernando also made his return after missing FP1. There were also problems over at the garages when McLaren found a hydraulic leak in Lando Norris's car, which resulted in him continuously running off the track. And Lindblad also spent some time in the garage after VCARB found a technical issue wrong with his car. The last practice session brought back the Mercedes domination as Kimi Antonelli topped the timesheets with a 1 minute 29.365. Leclerc yet again experienced some oversteer with his Ferrari taking Tokyo Drift to another level, yet he pulled his car into third place. Lando Norris had yet again another technical issue, but this time it was with his energy recovery system, so he missed about 40 minutes of track time. Behrman experienced a power surge as the electrical power from the MG UK kicked in and sent him into a spin while exiting Spoon. The session also showed a lot of drivers getting stuck in traffic, with Arvid Lindblad practically having to park his car just before the 2 Degners to let a trio of cars get past him. Later on the Saturday, the drivers took part in qualifying. Starting off with Q1, we saw Stroll, Alonso, Bottas, Perez, Behrman and Albon get knocked out as Franco Colapinto knocked Alex Albon out by just over a tenth of a second. In Q2, we saw rookie Arvid Lindblad knock out 4-time world champion Max Verstappen out of Q3. Along with Max, we also saw Sainz, Colapinto, Lawson, Hülkenberg and Ocon not make it into the final qualifying session. Finally, we have Q3 where all the drivers are fighting it out for pole. Antonelli had a nice slipstream from Isaac Hadjar beating his teammate by just 0.2 of a second on that lap. Mercedes dominated Q3 by locking out the front row with Piastri following behind. In the end, Kimi Antonelli took pole with a 1 minute 28.778, followed by his teammate Piastri, and then Leclerc, who on his last lap experienced a lot of oversteer at turn 14. And then we have the star of the show, the race. The lights went out, and instead of seeing one of the Ferraris jump into P1, we saw Oscar Piastri take the lead from starting P3 on the grid. However, we did see Charles Leclerc manage to slide into P2 after overtaking both the Silver Arrows and Norris making it into P3. And then around lap 8, I want to say, Russell and Piastri were doing switchbacks for the lead between the last chicane and the pit straight. Antonelli was slowly making his way up the leaderboard after having a really bad start with some wheel spin. So Piastri was then the first to pit, going from the medium compound to the hard compound. Then on lap 22, Russell pit to hold off from Piastri. But the literal lap after Russell pit, a safety car got brung out. The safety car was caused by Ollie Behrman, who had a really bad crash coming into turn 14, where most of the drivers have been struggling all weekend long. The crash happened as Ollie went to overtake Franco. However, the car went off track and into the distance boards, and then he crashed into the barrier at 50 Gs. Thankfully, he's okay now, and he can rest over the new 5-week break that the drivers have after the race. Because of this, many drivers like Antonelli, Hamilton and Gasly had 3 pit stops, with some of them keeping their track position. The race then restarted, and the Ferraris got back into overtaking again, with Hamilton overtaking Russell, who then found a small problem leading Leclerc to overtake him. This led to a Ferrari battle for third place, with Leclerc ultimately taking the last podium position. Hamilton then came on the radio after saying he basically had problems with his deployment system, which led to him running off the track at the last chicane. The last 2 laps saw a battle between Russell and Leclerc. However, it was Charles that crossed the line ahead of the Brit, completing the podium. We also saw a battle between Gasly and Verstappen, where Gasly crossed the line first. And with his first race of the season, Oscar Piastri claimed P2, with Antonelli stepping up onto the top step of the podium. Because of this win, Antonelli now leads the Drivers' Championship, making him number 1, the youngest person to lead it, and number 2, the only teenager to do this. That is all we have time for today. We hope you enjoyed the video. To stay up to date with all of our videos, make sure to like the video and follow all of our socials on @TheRookieReporters. And don't forget to check out our website, therookiereporters.com, for your favourite sports articles. See you in the next video.